After third round of consultations with the farmers' representatives, the centre asked them to identify and share specific issues today related to the Farm Reform Acts. These issues to be discussed during the fourth round of meeting to be held tomorrow. Cyclone alert sounded for parts of Kerala, Tamil Nadu as Cyclonic Storm Burevi likely to intensify further. The cyclone expected to cross South Tamil Nadu on the 4th early morning. NDRF teams deployed to combat the arising situation. India continues to make rapid stride in the fight against COVID-19. The third phase trial of Covaxin to begin in Kolkata today. Dr. Reddy starts Russia's Sputnik 5 vaccine trials in India. The price of the RT-PCR test by private laboratories in Uttar Pradesh capped at 700 rupees. The total global COVID cases crosses 6.4 crore mark, while number of deaths stands at about 14.8 lakh. The US plans for rapid vaccine rollout as COVID-19 surges to new heights. The COVID-19 vaccine sprint as Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna seek the emergency European Union approval. Today is the National Pollution Control Day. Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar says the government is fighting pollution on a war footing. India win the toss and elect to bat in the third ODI against Australia in Canberra today. T. Natarajan makes his ODI debut. Hello and good morning. You're watching DD India with me, Nancy Kohli. A top story. The Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar has said that the centre is always committed to protecting the interest of the farmers of the country and always open for discussion for the farmers' welfare. The Agriculture Minister, the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal and the Minister of State for Commerce Som Prakash met with the representatives of the farmers' organizations of Punjab in New Delhi on Tuesday. The ministers reiterated the fact to the representatives of the Farmers' Union that the farming community throughout the nation will benefit immensely from the Farm Reform Acts. And during the talks that were held in a cordial atmosphere, various issues related to the Farm Reform Acts were discussed at length. During the interaction, it has been suggested by the government to the representatives of the Farmers' Union to identify the specific issues related to the Farm Reform Act and share with the government for consideration that will be discussed during the fourth round of meeting to be held on Thursday. And speaking with the media after the meeting, the Agriculture Minister said the third round of talks with the farmers and the meeting was very cordial. He also informed that the fourth round of talks will take place on Thursday. The Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar held talks with another farmers delegation led by Rakesh Tikesh, the leader of the Bharatiya Kisan Union. And after the meeting, the minister expressed satisfaction over the deliberation with the farmers' unions.
टिकैत किसान यूनियन के लीडर्स का फ़ोन हम लोगों को आया था, तो स्वाभाविक रूप से वो भी किसानों के क्षेत्र में काम करते हैं, तो हम लोगों ने उनको 7 बजे का समय दिया था। तो सभी उनके पदाधिकारी यहाँ आए और उन्होंने एक्ट से संबंधित भी बातचीत की और कृषि के क्षेत्र में विभिन्न प्रकार की जो और आवश्यकताएं हैं उन पर भी उन्होंने विचार विमर्श किया। हमने उनको भी कहा है कि एक्ट से संबंधित जो आपके इशू हैं वो हमें लिख कर दे दें और हम जब विचार करेंगे तो उन पर भी विचार करेंगे।
Now moving on to some other news, a cyclone alert has been sounded for the parts of Kerala and Tamil Nadu as Cyclonic Storm Burevi is likely to intensify further during the next few hours. The deep depression that intensified into Cyclone Burevi is expected to cross Sri Lanka by the evening today and may emerge into the Gulf of Mannar tomorrow morning. Now, as per the latest Met Department update, Burevi would have landfall between Kanyakumari and Pamban around early morning of the 4th December as a cyclonic storm with a wind speed of 70 to 80, gusting to 90 kilometers per hour. Although Kerala is not directly in its track, high alert has already been issued in Kerala as intense rainfall is predicted in South Kerala with red alert declared for 4 districts of South Kerala. Preparing for the worst and also considering the impact of Cyclone Oki, which hit exactly 3 years back, all the fishing boats had been asked to return or anchor at safe locations. The dam levels are constantly under monitor and special care is being taken about the vulnerable areas in the hilly regions. The Revenue Administration is all set for any emergency. 8 NDRF teams are already stationed at different locations across the state and ready for action in case of an emergency. In Tamil Nadu, Kanyakumari, Tirunelveli, Thoothukudi, Tenkasi, Ramanathapuram and Shivagangai districts are expected to get heavy to very heavy rainfall. At a few places, and extremely very heavy rainfall at the isolated places from 2nd to 3rd December. Fishermen have been asked to not venture into the sea during the period. Now, in view of the deep depression emerging along the southern coast of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, the Cabinet Secretary has chaired the National Crisis Management Committee meeting in New Delhi on Tuesday through video conferencing with the Chief Secretaries of Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Advisor Lakshadweep and the Secretaries of different ministries. The Chief Secretaries of Tamil Nadu, Kerala and the Advisor Lakshadweep briefed the NCMC about their preparedness and the arrangements by the district disaster management committees in the concerned districts, warning to fishermen and the deployment of the rescue teams. The Cabinet Secretary asked the state governments and the central ministries to ensure that all the necessary actions are taken to ensure that damage is minimum and necessary preparations are made to restore the essential services at the earliest. Meanwhile, 26 NDRF teams have been deployed in Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Puducherry. 17 NDRF teams are put on alert in Tamil Nadu, 8 in Kerala and 1 team has been put on an alert in Puducherry. Now moving on, the railways freight figures continue to maintain the high momentum in terms of earnings and loading in the month of November this year. The railways loading in November was 109.68 million tons, which are 9% higher compared to last year's loading at around 100 million tons for the same period. In November, the Indian Railways earned 10,657 crore rupees from the freight loading, which is 4% higher as compared to last year's earnings for the same period. The freight loading included 48.4 million tons of coal, 13.7 million tons of iron ore, 5.1 million tons of food grains, 5.4 million tons of fertilizers and 6.6 million tons of cement. The average wagon loading per day in November is 58,726 wagons, which are 4.6% higher than October this year. Now, despite festival holidays and Cyclone Nivar affecting the freight loading, the Indian Railways continue to register impressive figures in the freight loading in the last 3 months, suggesting a steady economic recovery. In September and October, the freight loading was 15% higher each as compared to last year. It is worth mentioning that a number of concessions and discounts are also being given to the Indian Railways to make the railways freight movement very attractive. The Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal will chair a meeting of the Board of Trade through video conference. The discussions in the meeting will focus on the new foreign trade policy for the period 2021 to 2026 and the strategies and measures to be taken in order to take forward the domestic manufacturing and exports. This Board of Trade meeting platform provides an opportunity to have regular discussion and consultation with the trade and industry and advise the government on policy measures related to the FTP in order to achieve the objective of boosting India's trade. It also provides a platform to state governments and the union territories to articulate their perspective on the trade policy. The Board of Trade will take an overview of the export and the import performance, the investment promotion strategy for Atmanirbhar Bharat. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, along with prominent industrialists, today attended the listing of the Lucknow Municipal Corporation bond at the Bombay Stock Exchange. Lucknow has become the 9th city in the country to have raised municipal bonds and the first city to issue such a bond after the launch of the Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation scheme. The funds raised through the bond will be invested in various infrastructure schemes in the state capital, including the water supply project and the housing project being implemented under the Amrut scheme. The LMC bond launched on 13th November was 4.5 times oversubscribed and closed at 8.5% coupon rate for 10 years. The Asian Development Bank and the Government of India on Tuesday signed a $132 million loan to strengthen and modernize the distribution network and improve the quality of power supply to households, industries and businesses in India's northeastern state of Meghalaya. The project will construct 23 substations, renovate modernize 45 substations, install and upgrade 2,214 kilometers of distribution lines and the associated facilities. The installation of smart meters will benefit about 1,80,000 households. Now moving on, in Karnataka, at least 6 fishermen were missing after a fishing boat capsized in the Arabian Sea of Mangaluru coast. Bodies of 2 fishermen have been retrieved on Tuesday while 4 are still missing. A total of 22 fishermen were on board the ill-fated boat at the time of the incident. 16 fishermen though have been rescued. The search operation is underway for the missing persons by the local fishermen and the Coast Guard. Meanwhile, the Met Department has advised fishermen to not venture into the sea on 3rd December and 4th December due to Cyclone Burevi. Now, the third phase trials of Covaxin, the vaccine for COVID-19, will begin at the National Institute of Cholera and Enteric Disease in Kolkata today. Around 1,000 volunteers would be administered the vaccine. Half of the volunteers will be receiving the first candidate vaccines indigenously developed by the Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech and the ICMR, while the rest will be given placebos. Another shot will be administered to each of the volunteers after 4 weeks of the first one. Now, according to the ICMR NICED, the regulatory trial has the aim to determine the protective efficacy of Covaxin among the volunteers against COVID-19 infection. And the Bharat Biotech vaccine third phase trial begins in Bangalore today. Clintrack International Private Limited and Vaidehi Hospital have partnered to initiate the third phase of the Bharat Biotech vaccine trial at the Vaidehi Institute of Medical Sciences and Research Center. The first dosage will be administered today, while the second dosage will be administered on 30th December. The hospital is looking for 1,000 volunteers to take part in the trial. Now, Sputnik 5, the first registered COVID-19 vaccine from Russia, arrived in India on Tuesday for clinical trials. The Russian Direct Investment Fund and Dr. Reddy's laboratories initiated the clinical trials of the vaccine. Russia has become the first country to register the world's first COVID-19 vaccine on 11th August. Sputnik 5 was developed by the Gamaleya National Research Center for Epidemiology and Microbiology of the Russian Healthcare Ministry. Last month, Russia had said that Sputnik 5 is 92% effective at protecting people from COVID-19, according to the first interim analysis. After phase 2 or 3 clinical trials for Sputnik 5 commenced in India, the Russian ambassador has said comprehensive cooperation in countering the spread of COVID-19 is a priority area of the Russia-India bilateral and multilateral strategic partnership. He's tweeted, and I quote, "Comprehensive cooperation in countering the spread of COVID-19 infection is a priority area of the Russia-India bilateral and multilateral strategic partnership. Ready to continue every interaction and coordination in this area to support global efforts to combat COVID-19." Unquote. Now, the Uttar Pradesh government on Tuesday has capped the price of the RT-PCR test to detect the COVID-19 by private laboratories at 700 rupees. The cost will be 900 rupees if the tests are done at home. The decision was taken a day after Delhi and Gujarat also revised the rates of the test. Now, these rates are inclusive of the goods and services tax. The government hospitals are providing these tests free of cost, including the RT-PCR and the antigen test. The Gujarat government has reduced the price of the RT-PCR test conducted by the private laboratories for COVID-19 to 800 rupees from 1500 rupees. And in the national capital, Delhi, the RT-PCR test will now cost 800 rupees at all the private laboratories. That's down from 2,400 rupees. And in case the laboratory gets their sample collected by its staff, the rate will be 1,200 rupees. Now, India has been a mighty warrior in the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. According to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, the daily new COVID-19 cases remain below 50,000 as a million tests are being conducted every day. Moving on now, the Department of Posts has decided to deliver Sabarimala SwamyPrasadam to devotees across the country at their doorstep. Keeping in view devotees across the country, the Department of Posts has conceptualized and developed a comprehensive booking and delivery package for the delivery of SwamyPrasadam of the Sabarimala temple at the doorstep of the devotees using the vast network of the Postal Department covering every nook and corner of the country. The Kerala Postal Circle entered into an agreement with the Travancore Devasham board for this purpose, creating a tailor-made product. The devotees can now book the SwamyPrasadam from any post office in India by paying only 450 rupees for each packet of prasadam. This service was launched all over India with effect from 6th November this year, and there's been tremendous response from the public for the service. Well, around 9,000 orders have already been booked all over India till date, and the same is increasing by the day. Okay, moving on now, taking a look at the COVID-19 updates from across the country. While India has leaped across a significant milestone in its fight against COVID-19, the number of new daily cases have been below the 50,000 mark for 25 consecutive days. In the last 24 hours, 6,959 new confirmed cases were reported, while over 62,000 people recovered successfully in the same time span. Now, with the cumulative recovery of around 89,32,000 people so far, the national recovery rate has reached 94.03%. And taking a look now at all the updates on COVID-19 from across the world. Well, as of now, more than 6 crore 41 lakh COVID-19 cases have been reported worldwide, with over 14 lakh 86,000 deaths. Over 4 crore 44 lakh people have recovered from the virus. The US continues to top the list among the worst hit countries by the pandemic so far, with the highest number of infections. The US has recorded over 1 crore 41 lakh cases of the virus, with the death toll surging past 2 lakh 76,000. And the US recorded 10,000 COVID-19 deaths and over 1.1 million new cases last week, although state and the health officials say the Thanksgiving holiday likely caused numbers to be underreported. The new cases fell 3.8% in the week ending Sunday, while deaths fell 3.9% across the US. Now, 9.8% of the tests came back positive for the virus for a third week in a row. The World Health Organization considers positive test rates above 5% concerning, because it suggests there are more cases in the community that have not yet been uncovered. Now, in Los Angeles, a new stay-at-home order took effect from Monday as confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the most populous country in the US exceeded 4 lakh. The new order closes public playgrounds, places new capacity limits on the stores, the outdoor museums and other educational and recreational spaces. The rules come on top of a ban on outdoor dining that started last week, as well as a statewide curfew. California has set a new record with over 7,000 patients in the hospitals across the state at a time when many hospitals are already stretched to capacity. And the state of California, with its already stringent rules, is signaling another potential stay-at-home order should the current trend continue. Meanwhile, a Florida healthcare provider says it is prepared to distributing a COVID-19 vaccine as soon as it becomes available. Jackson Health Systems, which serves Miami-Dade County, says it will be one of the first networks to receive the Pfizer vaccine when it is approved by the Food and Drug Administration. And the Americans who have endured 8 months of restrictions, lockdown and business closure in the face of the pandemic are pinning their candidates developed by drug companies Pfizer and Moderna, which are awaiting the US government approval for emergency use. And in Turkey, the government has begun the imposition of a nationwide weekday curfew on Tuesday to combat the spread of COVID-19 as the country's daily COVID-19 death toll hit a record high for a 9th consecutive day. The country's health ministry data showed COVID-19 deaths in Turkey rose to a new record yesterday with 190 fatalities in the last 24 hours as Turks braced for new restrictive measures to curb the spread of the pandemic. President Erdogan announced new measures on Monday to combat the surge in the cases and the deaths, including introducing a weekday curfew and a full lockdown on the weekends. While citizens will now not be allowed to leave home between 9 at night and 5 in the morning on weekdays or at all the weekends, according to the new measures that went into effect last evening. Turkey has a total of more than 6,68,000 COVID-19 cases and over 13,000 deaths. And moving on now to some more news from around the world, the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden has formally introduced his top economic policy advisors on Tuesday as his administration prepares to take power amid a slowing economic recovery hampered by the resurgent COVID-19 pandemic. Before announcing his economic team, Biden urged lawmakers to pass a COVID-19 aid package that has been stalled in the Congress for months and promised more action to reactivate the economy after he takes office next month. Biden said any such package passed by the Congress before he takes over on 20th January would be at best just a start. Biden announced the economic team during a press conference in which he formally announced nominations for the team, including that of former Fed Chair Janet Yellen as his pick for the Treasury Secretary. And in some other news now, the humans could land on Mars for the first time as early as in 6 years and maybe even 4, Elon Musk said at an event in Germany Tuesday night. Musk's rocket company SpaceX launched 4 astronauts on a flight to the International Space Station last month, NASA's first full-fledged mission, sending a crew into orbit aboard a privately owned spacecraft. The billionaire SpaceX chief executive, who is also the CEO of electric car maker and the battery manufacturer Tesla, attended an award ceremony in Berlin where he received the Axel Springer Prize given to outstanding personalities who are particularly innovative. And moving on now to sports news. Well, India will be looking for a change in fortunes as it moves from Sydney to Canberra for a third and final one-day international against Australia. India captain Virat Kohli called right and decided to take the first strike. When reports last came in, India were 48 for the loss of 1 wicket after 9 overs. And India have made 2 changes to the playing 11 with T. Natarajan making his one-day debut while Shubman Gill makes his debut as an opening partner to Shikhar Dhawan. T. Natarajan is the 11th left-arm pacer to make his debut for India. The host Australia have already clinched the ODI series, taking an unbeatable 2-0 lead in the 3-match series. Shikhar Dhawan failed to soothe Shubman's nerves as he fell cheaply for 16 runs. Virat Kohli joined Shubman in the middle as India's top order problems continue to trouble at the visitors on the tour down under. Now India will play a 3-match T20 series followed by a 4-test series on the tour. And in more sports news, in the Champions League, Liverpool beat Ajax 1-0. The only goal in the game was scored by Liverpool's Curtis Jones in the 58th minute of the game. Curtis Jones scored his first Champions League goal after a horrific goalkeeping mistake as Liverpool beat Ajax to win Group D and secure a place in the last 16. Liverpool currently holds the top spot in Group D with 12 points from 5 matches, while Ajax is in the 2nd place. Now, the match played between Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich in the Group A match ended in a 1-all draw. Madrid scored in the 26th minute of the game by Sequeira, while Bayern scored a penalty through Muller in the 86th minute. And after the draw, there will be a lot of struggle for Atletico to make it to the final 16 as Atletico is 7 points lower than Bayern. Bayern is at the top in Group A with 13 points. And in the Group B match of the Champions League, Ukraine's football club Shakhtar Donetsk defeated Champions League top team Real Madrid 2-0. The first half ended goallessly, but 12 minutes after in the second half, Shakhtar Donetsk's Dentino scored the first goal for his team. After this, only Solomon of Donetsk managed to score in the 82nd minute of the game. Following this defeat, Real's hopes to reach the final 16 have suffered a setback as the team has slipped to 3rd place in Group B. Now moving on to some weather news. While Delhi's air quality continued to remain in the very poor category, with the air quality index being recorded at 381 this morning. Now, according to the Met Department, it is likely to remain very poor throughout the week owing to slow wind speed and a change in the wind patterns in the coming days. And according to the Met Department scientists, the average wind speed on Tuesday, it reduced to 7 to 8 kilometers per hour from 10 to 12 kilometers per hour on Monday, and they expect the wind speed to further reduce from 4th or 5th December. The change in direction is due to a western disturbance that will affect Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh from the night of 3rd December, which will also have an impact on Delhi. And in addition to Delhi, the air quality indexes of the NCR region also remained in the very poor category. The air quality index in Gurugram and Ghaziabad remained 321 and 430 respectively, whereas Faridabad and Greater Noida remained at 330 and 410 respectively. In Haryana, Sirsa and Kurukshetra remained at 204 and 341. Meanwhile, in Punjab's Amritsar and Bhatinda remained at 267 and 188. In Uttar Pradesh, the AQI level in Baghpat remained 371 and in Kanpur remained 411. And in the southern India, the air quality remained satisfactory, with Tirupati maintaining 63 air level and Thiruvananthapuram remained at 54. Also, the AQI levels in Mumbai and Kolkata remain at 145 and 276. Now, the National Pollution Control Day is being observed today. While the day is observed in memory of those who suffered and lost their lives in the tragic 1984 Bhopal gas tragedy. The Union Minister of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Prakash Javadekar, has tweeted a video on an excerpt of Prime Minister Modi's speech. On the occasion, he said that the government of India has waged a war against pollution and 100 cities aim to reduce pollution in the 5 years.
चुने हुए 100 शहरों में प्रदूषण कम करने के लिए हम एक होलिस्टिक अप्रोच के साथ, एक इंटीग्रेटेड अप्रोच के साथ, एक जन भागीदारी के साथ आधुनिक टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग भरपूर करते हुए हम उसे प्रदूषण कम करने की दिशा में एक मिशन मोड में काम करने वाले हैं.
Now, the Union Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has tweeted on the occasion, and I quote, "Clean air and water are the greatest resources available to mankind. Modi government is committed to a path of clean and sustainable growth. On the National Pollution Control Day, pledge your support by adopting green good deeds and an environmental friendly lifestyle to help curb pollution," unquote. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news. Thanks for being with us.